is Sam Ugalava, and I'm a product manager on the Confluence Cloud team. I'd like to welcome you to the third episode of Collaboratory, a Confluence series. On today's episode, we'll discuss how organizations can use Confluence to keep projects moving forward with in-person, remote, and distributed teams. From actionable meeting notes to knowledge management and inspiring project plans, we'll talk about how to kickstart team participation with a flexible workspace. I'm joined by Confluence customer Jade Melcher, a program manager lead at Sprout Social. Welcome, Jade. Thanks for taking the time to speak with me.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sam. It's great to be here.
Awesome. All right. So why don't we get things started with a quick intro? Can you tell me about yourself and Sprout Social and how do you use Confluence to move work forward?
Yeah, sure. So Sprout Social is a social media software offering deep social media listening and analytics, social management, customer care, commerce, and advocacy solutions for 25,000 brands and agencies worldwide. So we were founded in 2010, and we have about 700 employees headquartered in Chicago, and then we also have offices in Seattle and Dublin. And I've been with the company a little over 4 years now as a program manager on marketing. I'm also one of our global Atlassian admins for Jira and Confluence. So big Atlassian fan and pretty excited to be here today.
Awesome. That's great. So tell us a little bit about how you use Confluence.
Yeah, so Confluence is definitely our single source of truth for all of our company information and team information. It really allows us to promote transparency by having all of our company information available in one spot, which really aligns with our core values of promoting open, authentic communication and embracing accountability. And it's also given us some of the tooling we need as we really lean into async work in the past year and a half, something that's been critically important as the landscape has been changing for all of us. So when we're fully distributed, you'd see us linking out to wiki pages from our agendas or circulating pages through email to get input in hopes of trying to avoid a meeting. So oftentimes we're able to solve things async rather than meeting. So it really shows the power of the tool as a meeting replacement and something we're trying to get better at every day.
Very cool. It sounds like Confluence has really helped you guys navigate the transition from in-person to distributed work without missing a beat with the pandemic here. So now I know Sprout Social uses Confluence as a wiki. So can you tell us what prompted you to create a wiki in the first place? What challenges did you face as an organization and how did Confluence help?
Definitely. So as a company, we were using Confluence and Jira for many years before I joined, but about 4 years ago when I was joining, there was a big project to kind of bring our external wiki into Confluence. So previously we were actually hosting our wiki in a separate platform. And what that meant was that people had to go to an additional link to access information. We had to maintain an additional website. And it was just really hard to maintain and it was kind of clunky. So when I joined, there was a big push to kind of consolidate. And so we really re-envisioned the wiki and redesigned the space with fresh content. We had exec buy-in to communicate the importance of everything. So we worked with our Chief Creative Officer, Gil Lara, to get it launched. And since then, we've had a lot of success. We revamped it a few times just to make sure that it's, as recent as possible. And we're really happy with our latest iteration of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think a lot of our customers have faced similar problems before they use Confluence. And I can even know, I know personally when I've worked at previous companies, we use Dropbox or Google Drive for all of those shared documents. And I feel like I was always wasting so much time just trying to find things that were buried, folders and folders deep. And then only to find like that document was out of date. So it was just always really hard to find what you were looking for. So I'm glad Sprout Social has figured out how to solve that problem with Confluence. All right, so now that we've learned your organization has built a wiki to help your employees have a single source of truth, what type of information do you house there? And can you walk me through your process for actually updating the main wiki?
Yeah, definitely. So the main Sprout wiki includes things like our employee handbook, our Sprout values, links to all of our recordings from our all hands in case someone can't attend and needs to watch it afterwards. And then we also have something called our How We Work guides, which I'll talk about in a second. So I wasn't able to grab a screen of our actual wiki, but this is our mission and values page within the wiki, which I wanted to share today. So our wiki is updated by people from all across the org. So the people team, the workplace experience team, DEI, and internal comms. whenever there's a need to communicate new info, we drive people here. So we feel really good about having this centralized place for all of our information, and it really takes the guesswork out of where people need to go to find the info they need. So it helps us feel really good about our onboarding processes as well, and making sure new hires are really set up for success from day one. So when we have a new employee start, the first thing we do is point them towards the wiki, and then from there on out, they know where to find that info, and it's just kind of like a really nice security.
Yeah, that's awesome. How often do you guys update the wiki?
Yeah, totally. So whenever there's new information we need to communicate, people will update the wiki, but then we also are really good about updating our actual homepage every 2 weeks. So we update the homepage with like the latest happenings across the company. And this really helps make sure that it remains relevant and up to date and makes people want them to come back for more. Whereas previously our wiki was kind of stale. The homepage kind of always had the same info. But now we're actually updating it with the recent updates in the company, and we feel like that keeps engagement going.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are some of the other useful tools that you guys have built on that main wiki?
Yeah, so the next thing that we have in the wiki would be our how we work guides. And these are guides detailing how to effectively communicate, how to run efficient meetings, how to provide feedback, all skills that are extremely important for us as we scale. So having everything clearly displayed in Confluence really ensures that our full team of 700 plus people have access to the same standards for how we work and collaborate as a team, so we can really get the most out of our time together. So you'll notice these pages have some nice imagery in the top, a lot of bold headings to kind of organize information. I think the GIF ended, but and then there's like some jump links on the side for easy navigation. And then we've also used a smart layout to help digest info and kind of break it up. So a lot of little things you can do with the page editor to kind of make that content easy to digest.
Yeah, that's great. Making sure the team has access to those same standards is really important as organizations scale. And we actually do something pretty similar at Atlassian on the product teams. And I know that it's really helped keep everyone aligned like throughout a project. So how does Sprout Social set up spaces in Confluence? Are you guys organized around projects? Do you do it by teams? Is it by departments?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we organize our spaces by departments and teams. Sometimes we'll spin up a new space based on a project if there's a specific initiative, but a lot of times it's organized by the actual people doing the work. We use the Spotify squad model. And so what we found is that by having like all of our main departments organized by spaces, it's super easy to kind of know where you're going for the information you need. And then we've also created shortcuts throughout our navigation so that if you're in like the sales space or the product space, on the left side, there's going to be shortcuts to all the main departments so that you can kind of jump around as needed. And that's something we came up with about 4 years ago when we were kind of revamping the space. So just to make it easy to navigate from one place to the next. And then all of our squads have dedicated spaces as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. We see a lot of customers who organize those spaces by teams as well. And I think I've worked that way with every company I've worked at that's used Confluence too. So what kinds of features and tools are you using in Confluence to collaborate with others?
Yeah, so teams are definitely storing important information like team processes and onboarding information. And then we also have people linking out to different artifacts like roadmaps, just to make sure everything is, where you would think you would find it. So you have a clear idea of where to get the information you need to do your job. We all know that when people have that, they do better work and productivity is higher. So we're really big on just making sure all the documentation you need is available. And then, so as an example of how my team has built out our space, we built it out to include process documentation and a playbook for getting people up to speed on Agile, along with our specific project management processes and use of Atlassian tooling. So Confluence allows us to really make sure that everyone has access to that same process to hopefully avoid process breakdowns and confusion. So if, for example, someone doesn't know our current copy review process, we can just link them to the copy page and we know that they're going to see the exact same process that everyone else is following to hopefully avoid some of those issues.
Yeah, that's great. It's a great way to set expectations and avoid conflict that comes up between teams, and it really helps keeps teams moving forward together. So I've always appreciated when companies I've worked for have documented those types of process, but especially things like Agile, because I feel like everyone kind of has their own take on how that should work. So it's really, really helpful, I think, when teams do that. And it's a great tool to be able to use it in Confluence as well. Yeah. So what else are you guys using that for?
Yeah, so our project teams, a couple of them just started using the Confluence marketing campaign template. So this is really great if you want to get a head start on like a project brief. We're actually going to be customizing this soon because we have our own project brief template, but this is a really great starting point. It allows you to organize all your content and your milestones so everything's clear and ready to access. And then you can also use action items here to track and manage open items and comments to collaborate and provide feedback async. So that's something that we're really trying to do a lot more of, is go deep on prep work. This template has really allowed us to save time in meetings or even cancel meetings by collaborating async, by kind of sharing this out via email or tagging people into it so they can kind of contribute. And then when we walk into a meeting, we're all a little bit more aligned, right? Because we've done that prep work. So it's really been helpful in that way for us.
Yeah, that's great. I love using action items in Confluence as well. It's been a game changer on the teams that I've worked with. And I also find that I spend a lot less time chasing down other people to get projects done. Meetings feel a lot more focused, especially like team or triad meetings. And the team does feel like a lot more aligned using some of those tools. So do you use Confluence to keep track of meeting notes as well as projects, or what else are you using it for?
Yeah, so we actually have a customized meeting notes template, which includes a couple things. I think that's on the next slide. Yeah. So in this template, we have kind of customized the out of the box one that was provided to include like a meeting type so that people really understand the kind of meeting they're walking into. So whether are we going to be making a decision in this meeting or are we looking for input, that really helps people know like if they need to do prep work. And then we have roles as well. So meeting leader, note taker, remote advocate. We feel like aligning on kind of the role that someone will have in the meeting is really helpful because then we have expectations set and everybody kind of knows what's expected of them when they walk into the meeting. But the meeting notes template has been really great because it allows us to kind of document where we landed, be really clear about next steps, and then leverage those action items again to kind of follow up on open items.
Yeah, awesome. Are there any other templates that you guys use?
Yeah, so the last one I'll mention is the DAISY template. This is a Confluence provided template. This template's a really great template to use for decision making. It organizes information on roles of the decision. So like there's the driver and the approver of the decision. And then it allows you to lay out the different options for the decision. So you can look at pros and cons and kind of the cost of each. And then, so this has been really useful for us for deciding on some larger implementations where we were able to actually circulate this document and collaborate async with some executives and get buy-in on a decision. And then we have continued to use this page just as information sharing. So when we were bringing more stakeholders into the project, just kind of sharing out what decision was made, which allowed us to kind of bring people up to speed more quickly. And I think this just shows the value that a single page can have is we kind of achieved the initial planning, but it continues to provide value as an artifact. So just a cool template that we love at Sprout.
Yeah, awesome. I love the DAISY template as well. It's really powerful for keeping stakeholders aligned, especially when you need that buy-in from like leadership or executive teams. And I also have found that it's been really helpful to keep track of like key decisions we've made in the past, especially when you move on from a project and someone, of course, asks you like, oh, why did you make this decision? And maybe it's a project you worked on a year ago or so. And it's really helpful to be able to keep track of those details and be able to like reference that, or instead of even setting up a meeting, being able to just share the page with them and have them be able to walk through that themselves. Yeah, so thanks for sharing how you're using Confluence to collaborate. It sounds like Confluence has become really the source of truth for Sprout Social. All right, so my last question is, can you share some of the tips and tricks that you picked up while using Confluence?
Yeah, definitely. So first, the big thing is making sure your content is really intuitive and easily searchable. So we really aim to be smart about how we name our pages and organize our content. So that way, when someone searches for a word, they're going to find the page that they're looking for, right? Or the information they're looking for. And then we've also found that organizing our spaces by department and team has really given us that solid foundation for how information is organized.
Nice. Awesome. What other kind of things are you using or tips you've learned?
Yeah, so we really rely heavily on the new editor's capabilities. We really love the new editor and are super excited for all those changes that have come out. I would say the info and notes panels, we really use this to draw attention to key information. So here you can see the yellow panel, and then at the top there was the green panel. And then we love working with the new tables. They're super easy to use to add columns and rows, and then you can change the colors. So there's lots of different fun colors there. And then we're big on incorporating imagery to really draw attention and give people a little bit of delight. So a lot of our pages, our key pages, I would say, have like imagery or illustration at the top. Again, we can't do that for every single page, but like a lot of our key home pages would have like a nice little illustration at the top. And then as you can see, we use layout to kind of break up the content so it's easy to digest.
Yeah, awesome. I'm personally really excited to hear all this. Like, these features are all features that my team has actually worked on. So it's great seeing you get so much value out of them with your company. And yeah, I personally love adding color to my pages as well. I feel like Confluence is kind of an extension of your personality or your work personality in some ways. And so being able to really tell a great story and use some of these features that you mentioned are things that I really enjoy doing, and why I actually joined Confluence to work here as well too.
I love that.
Are there any other features that you use?
Yeah, I would say, headings and tables to kind of break up the contents. We're really big on using headings so that you can then use that table of contents. And then page tree, as you can see on the right side, always having like a page tree or a child pages macro so you can kind of navigate between pages. And then smart links is pretty cool. So allowing you to kind of copy paste a link from another tool and then automatically embedding it. So I think I found this when I was copy pasting a link from Advanced Roadmaps, and it automatically embedded the roadmap into my page. I didn't have to use a macro. So love that, that these pages are getting smarter and smarter all the time. And then of course, archiving, when that came out, that was really great because now we can kind of clean up our pages and archive old pages. And then lastly, analytics. So kind of taking a look at who's viewed a page so you can really understand if people are engaging with your content. So you can strategize from there.
Yeah, awesome.
Lots of stuff.
Yep, that's great. Yeah, smart links are really great. I think it really helps make those links stand out rather than just either linking text or copying and pasting in a huge URL. So I personally end up usually linking a lot of like Figma files from our designers as I'm putting together those like product specs. And it always just looks much nicer and cleaner with smart links. So, all right, well, thank you so much for joining me on this webinar, Jade. It was great to hear how you and Sprout Social are using Confluence to move work forward. And thanks to everyone for watching the third episode of Collaboratory, a Confluence series. Be sure to tune in next week to learn how Confluence can help you cancel more meetings. And don't forget to watch until the end of our series to find out if you're one of our raffle winners. If you have any questions or feedback, please reach out. We love hearing from customers like Jade, and are always looking for ways to improve Confluence. So thanks everyone, and thanks Jade for being here.
Thank you.